Hello.
Sir, we hear
Ms.
you
Clerk?
loud and clear.
Okay, well, let me just start out by saying good evening to everybody and Happy New Year, and welcome to the City of South Fulton's Development Authority meeting, first meeting of the year 2021. Ms. Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Happy New Year and good evening to everyone. Roll call. Chairman Mark Baker,
Present.
Vice Chairman Jamal Grooms,
Present.
Secretary Treasurer Arnold Jiggetts, Director Thant Coleman,
Present.
Director Mercedes Miller,
Present.
Director Andrew Pierson,
Present.
Director Derek Pollard,
Here.
and Director Rick Ross.
Present.
And Mr. Chairman and Directors, Director Alicia Ivey indicated previously that she would not be able to attend tonight's meeting.
Ivy, thank you for sharing that with everyone else. From my understanding, she had a conflict in the schedule. So if we could, Mr. Clerk, sound the first item.
Approval of the meeting agenda for January 25th.
I
I
move.
motion to approve the minutes from the January 25th meeting.
Second.
Probably moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote, Mr. Clerk.
The roll call vote to approve the agenda. Chairman Baker,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Grooms,
Aye.
Director Coleman,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Pierson,
Aye.
Director Pollard,
Aye.
Director Ross.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And before we go forward with the next item, I'd like to take a quick personal privilege to introduce or have Director Coleman was appointed, approved by the mayor and city council. And I think that many of you know we have, or when we had our scheduled meetings, adopting our schedule when we became a development authority. The last meeting, since we meet on the last Monday of the month, we normally don't have the meeting in November and December as a courtesy to the board members, the way that we celebrate those holidays for the Thanksgiving holiday and Christmas and New Year's. So this is his first meeting. We would like to welcome Director Coleman. And if you will, Director Coleman, give us a 2-minute elevator spiel, if you will, of who you are, your background, and whatever you want to share with the other directors as well as the city of South Fulton.
Sure. Thank you. I'm shy, believe it or not. So the one thing I hate to talk about is myself, but I'll only say that a number of folks know me, some don't. Do have a background in real estate, formed and sold real estate development business some years ago. I and a couple friends built about 120 single family units in Louisville, Kentucky. I've built and sold 2 healthcare companies in the past, along with the software company. The last 10 years, I've been consulting, which has sort of been a pulled together of my background. I've got technical background, again, in software development as well as business, primarily in the health insurance space, life insurance space, and financial services. Most recently, in the last 18 months, I have co-led a merger that being the merger of Blue Cross of Louisiana and Vantage Health Plans. Blue Cross purchased the smaller health insurance companies. There were two of us leading the merger. Business process as well as IT fell under my scope. We went live successfully on 1/1/21 with the combined multi-billion-dollar entity. Contract is over today. I am fully ready and capable to help City of South Fulton with any talents I have. So I know that may have been too high level, but if there are any direct questions, I'd be happy to answer later. Happy to chat with other members of the board if time permits later.
Well,
Thank you.
I would love to welcome you to the Development Authority, Mr. Coleman, and we look forward to working with you for sure.
Thank you.
So his sentiments and want to welcome you as well. Glad to have you on the team.
I think it's safe to say, Mr. Coleman, this is Mr. Pierson, Director Pierson. I too welcome you to the Development Authority.
Absolutely. This is Rick Ross. I'd like to ditto the same thing. Welcome aboard.
Welcome, Mr. Coleman. Mercedes Miller.
Mr. Clerk, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. Director Coleman, real quick, did you share the district you live in?
District 4, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
District 4.
Receive. We're very glad to have you, and we welcome your experience and knowledge and expertise to everything that we have going on. And you know, we started off as a airplane that we were building ourselves while we were still in the air and moving, and we're still going. And I've heard nothing but great things from Councilwoman Gilliard about you. So I look forward to working with you as well.
Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for that personal privilege. And Mr. Clerk, you can sound the next item.
Next item is approval of the October 26, 2020 meeting minutes.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the meeting minutes.
I second.
It's been properly moved and second into discussion. Hearing none. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote to approve the minutes. Chairman Baker.
Aye.
Chairman Grooms, Vice Chairman Grooms, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Director Coleman,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Pierson,
Aye.
Director Pollard, you were on mute. I think I read your,
Yes,
all right, thank you.
fat finger.
Director Ross.
Aye.
That motion is approved unanimously.
Received. Thank you. You can sound the next item.
Next item is item 5, public comment. Mr. Chairman and directors, we did not receive any public comments as of 4 p.m. today.
Received. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Sound the next item.
Next item is item 6, discussion. Letter A, South Fulton Development Authority training.
Okay, do we have Madam Attorney online?
Yes, sir. Attorney Walker?
Yes, I'm here.
Attorney Walker, can you please give us an update? I know that we made a motion for you authorizing to move forward with a certain amount. Can you give us a recap on the dynamics, given, you know, what transpired, of course, during? the time of quarantine, and we've been under these restrictions, and how we could probably move forward and some suggestions.
Yes, certainly. And good evening, Chairman Baker and directors. So before the pandemic, probably immediately before the pandemic, we had a meeting where there were discussions to have training. And this training would also incorporate your vision session as well as your mission. We would have a facilitator come in and go over the vision and mission. And then we would have training prior to that with outside attorneys coming in, as well as a financial advisor, to kind of go over basically the duties and responsibilities, the purview of the Development Authority. Now, you guys have previously had training on that, so we were going to try to just hit the foundation again and then hit other subjects that were not covered in that initial training, as well as, so I said the finance component, because we were going to have the financial advisor, who is also the city's financial advisor, come in and kind of just give you an overview of the financial aspects of some of the transactions that you may be engaged in. Now, you authorized us to move forward with respect to setting up the facilitator and then making arrangements for the attorneys to come in. But like I said earlier, that was right before the pandemic. So we stayed activity because of the pandemic. So I just need instruction from you as to whether you want me to move forward with the training and coordinating with these parties to still set it up. And if you do, whether it would be your preference for it to be virtual or in person.
Right turn.
Okay, I'll entertain any suggestions from the board.
This
Well,
is
if
Thant Coleman. Provided we're able to properly social distance, I would not mind an in-person training.
Thank you, Director Coleman. I know, let me ask you a question, Madam Attorney. Is it possible, if we did have the proper social distancing guidelines and there were people on the board or directors with some unreadiness to participate, even still, could we have them on comm? Would that violate any of our bylaws if that was the case, Madam Attorney?
No, you would be able to have people come in remotely. And that's because the state of Georgia is still under a declared state of emergency. So you have that exception under the Open Meetings Act that allows you to meet remotely, if you're most comfortable with meeting remotely, and that not counting against the limitation that would otherwise be on you. There's a numerical limitation.
I asked
this
that
would not
because
count towards it.
I asked that because I know that there was, and I don't know if the sentiments have changed very much at all, but I know we had some board members who were, adamantly against that, but we were in the thick of the pandemic. But I still wouldn't want them to not be able to take part. And I think that there is something to meeting in this fashion in order to accomplish what we're setting out to do. I know that the city normally would have a retreat for something like this, and it allows the camaraderie to build and discuss things candidly in a form like that people probably wouldn't be as candid via this medium. So if it's the will of the board.
Well, actually, Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so legally you can do it, but I think can we get the clerk to chime in on the logistics? Mr. Adams, do you think logistically it would be a problem for you to be able to set up some means for participation remotely?
I don't think so. I mean, I can just poll the board and did begin an exercise of checking with various venues to host it, but I didn't move forward. past checking on dates.
Okay,
Well-
thank you.
Well, Madam Attorney, with that being already discussed and already taken action upon, I think that
Your destination is ahead.
if there is not, if there's any objection, I'll entertain it. But if not, I'd like to move forward with entertaining a motion to authorize you guys. Well, actually, I guess I don't need a motion, but we can actually direct you as a board to continue in that direction of bringing something back to us. I guess, Mr. Clerk, if you could, within the next meeting, that we can discuss. I think Vivo 360 and others, I think they've reached out and you guys have that information. If you guys can make contact with them again, and try to come up with something that we can agree upon and move forward with in the next meeting. I don't know if we need to take action because we've already taken action, but if there isn't any objection, I would like you guys to do that, and move forward. Madam Attorney?
Yes, so if it sounds like that it's the consensus of the board. I mean, my preference would be to if you can take a vote just to make sure it's the consensus that we actually do move forward with the training. So there's no dispute on that.
Okay, yeah, I'm not opposed to that. I just didn't know if we needed to take another action, but I'll entertain a motion to authorize the city attorney and the Development Authority Council and the clerk to continue. I'm looking at something. I have a comment from Director Pollard.
And when we confirm with the venues, just their availability and, just confirming that they have social distancing protocols that are available, then we would bring back some proposed dates and we would poll the group with those dates.
Right. So I'll just entertain a motion to have them continue or to continue to move forward with our retreat suggestions. Anybody willing to make that motion? If
I move that we continue to proceed with establishing a time, a place, and a venue to have a retreat.
Second.
Probably move in second. I would like to hear from Director Pollard. He was in the comment during discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would be reluctant. I don't have a problem with us moving towards building this training. However, I would be a little bit reluctant to participate in person. I'm burying a very close family member tomorrow, and to be honest, I'm still a little bit reluctant for any in-person type of training. So I just wanted to make you folks aware of that.
Well, Brother Pollard, I'm going to echo your sentiments. I think that's why when he originally spoke, he spoke to the fact that we could still remote in, because I was one of the people that was saying I would rather remote in than show up in person.
Good.
Right. So Mr. Clerk, I think through this discussion, Mr. Clerk advised that he would come back with those means. Our council has advised it is legal under state law for us to move forward like that. So if anyone else had any discussion regarding this, and then we'll bring it up in a couple of weeks and figure out how we move forward. I think that there are requirements. We have new members who haven't had any training. So we're gonna have to, as we're moving forward, at least meet our qualifications in some fashion or another. I know the Carl Vincent Institute may be having some remote training sessions, but we'll try to bring that forward too, to make that available to all the board members so that we can have everything that we need to be fully functioning and well prepared. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call vote. Mr. Clerk, please.
Roll call vote. Chairman Baker.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Grooms.
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Jiggetts.
Aye.
Director Coleman.
Aye.
Director Miller.
Aye.
Director Pierson,
Aye.
Director Pollard,
Aye.
Director Ross. Director Ross?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion was approved unanimously, and I will bring something back to the board prior to the next Development Authority meeting.
Thank you, sir. You can sound the next item as well.
Next item is item 6B, South Fulton Development Authority Bylaw Amendment.
Madam Attorney, could you speak to this?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I think I was on mute earlier. Yeah, so this bylaw amendment, I think this is the one where there was discussion about potentially doing like a DBA, doing business as, so it would be
Gotcha.
where
Okay.
you would, so this is something that you could speak at the vision and mission session.
Okay, I forgot this was the item that I requested. I can give some background on, and if you guys want to hold it, we can. But I think we're going to discuss further some of the actions taken by the city moving forward and trying to build and develop and grow in the city of South Fulton. We know that there is an already existing Fulton County Development Authority. Since then, the city of South Fulton has, activated our DA through my legislation, and new legislation we have, it has directed a DDA, which is a Downtown Development Authority as well. For clarity and doing business and people directly reaching out to the right entities for business, I know we've had conversations when we were doing the website regarding different things and ways that we would carry ourselves, as well as how we would be known as. Of course, we have the Fulton County Development Authority and we have Invest Atlanta. All of those are arms of those municipalities or jurisdictions respectively. But I brought forward for us to entertain a DBA, which means doing business as Envision South Fulton. And that would be to keep us as our own entity, albeit we're City of South Fulton's Development Authority. Since now we have a DDA, just to have our own single standing entity, which we already are, but just for namesake and clarity, I propose that we authorize our city attorney, our development authority attorney, to move forward with it, adding a DBA to our current bylaws as Envision South Fulton. I could entertain a motion and we can move forward and discuss and figure out how we're going to go from there. I'll entertain a motion or to move forward as a DBA as Envision South Fulton.
I move that we accept the doing business as Envision Atlanta, if as presented.
A second.
Well, just so we know, I said
No.
South Fulton.
Envision South Fulton.
Yeah, we're South Fulton,
What did I say?
Atlanta.
My
And,
bad.
see, and that's why we want to do it.
We would have voted on it.
All
The
right.
funny thing is, Jamal, I heard South Fulton. I know. I guess I heard what Mark said and just transition over. So.
All right. So I move that we accept the DBA as Envision South Fulton. So what happened born in Atlanta.
And I second the correct one.
Probably moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk.
I think Director Pollard was trying to unmute.
Yeah, yes.
Director Pollard, discussion. You got the floor.
Yes. Now, how do we get to envision South Fulton? I wanted to hear your vision around the naming, the nomenclature of that. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You have to.
No. That's it. I was just curious. I just wanted just a little bit of discussion around that. And
well, I think that actually it's been a couple of years when we were having meetings prior to coming up with a development authority. Once we found out what it took and how it could be activated, myself, Director Jiggetts, Director Ross, we were already then just coming up with the conceptual framework of what we would have to do to allow tax abatements to come to our city. And of course, Madam Attorney advised us that we would be best moving forward as activating the development authority. There was, at that time, logos made. I actually came up with some stuff, and Mr. Jiggetts, who's a marketing expert as a profession, we came together with a whole lot of things that we can do. And names, Envision South Fulton was one of those. And there was a logo, it's already paid for. It had, colors and stuff like that we could move forward and, whenever we have a retreat and entertaining. But the conceptual framework was the city of South Fulton has the majority of or more undeveloped land than any place in Metro Atlanta. And so when you see all of these trees that you ride by, and whether you're going down Old National, whether you're going down Butner Road, the whole point of it is what we can be. I think one of the logos had like some homes or businesses in the hands with, and it was just more of an idea of just having a vision. Without a vision, people shall perish. And I felt that this was the starting point of where we came from and how we are having this meeting today with a couple of those people having a vision to move forward and build and grow this city that we all live in and love. So that's more of just the conceptual framework of how it came up. It's been a couple years now, but I felt more inclined to present it for some form of action, given that it's already been 2 years, well, not 2 full years, but year before last December, and the things with business slipping away that went to Fulton County, that people actually requested us directly, in correspondence, saying that the city of South Fulton has a new development authority and we would like a project to come here. So when that was said in correspondence and it still went to Fulton County's Development Authority, if we have a name, that won't be a mistake anymore. So, you got it.
Yes, and thank you for that, Chairman Baker. It was just that many of us had never heard that before. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to just understand the vision behind it. I understand the marketing piece, and I think that's a very important piece of what we do in trying to attract business here. Just wanted to see where, from where that came. So thank you for your discussion.
Yeah. Yes, and I did speak with Director Jiggetts, and I didn't know. I know that he joined the meeting since we started, but I guess he wanted to wait on the other pieces, and it's stuff like this that hold us back when we're not prepared with our website and information like that might be on there. But that's why I was pushing as well to try to get us together and have this retreat as well, so we can have and share a lot of those ideas and logos and just vision in general. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk.
We have a roll call vote. It was a motion by Director Grooms, seconded by Director Pierson, to move forward with the doing business as Envision South Fulton. Chairman Baker,
You said Director Green. I'm sorry. I believe that was
Grooms.
not Grooms. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes, okay. Roll call vote, Chairman Baker,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Grooms,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Jiggetts,
Aye.
Director Coleman,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Pierson,
Aye.
Director Pollard,
Aye.
Director Ross.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. You can sign the next item.
Wait,
Next item is,
Chairman, may I make a clarification on that?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Please.
Yeah, yes, so because that item was approved, I will amend the bylaws to reflect this, but I do plan to put a provision in there that says that all your official documentation, like when you have like quitclaim deeds, contracts, and agreements, that all of those agreements should be executed in the name of South Fulton Development Authority.
Definitely. I believe that that's what the legislation has us on, and that's the appropriate way to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
May I ask a question there?
Director Coleman?
Yes, but
Go
may
ahead,
I
you
ask
have
a
the floor.
question, and that is to Attorney Walker, would the documents not state both? Would they not state Envision South Fulton DBA, South Fulton Development Authority, just to be clear?
No, so the documents, my recommendation would be that they only state South Fulton Development Authority, because that is what your official name is. And that's what your legal name is. So the DBA you're doing business as, and you're recognizing yourself as this entity, but it is not your formal identity. So my recommendation would be that you only execute documentation with your formal identity.
And Director Coleman, just so you know, in order to change that, we would have to change the legislation that I wrote that was approved by mayor and council. And that can get real gray, to go back to the drawing board to change the legislation and the name in that legislation.
Understood. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk?
yes, the next item is item 6C, South Fulton Development Authority 2021 meeting schedule.
And Chairman,
Madam
would you
Attorney?
like me to? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is just confirmation that your past practices with meeting the fourth Monday, that it's working, and that you want to continue to schedule the meetings in this manner through 2021. So we would just need your confirmation on that.
Well, are we still blacking out the New Year's and Thanksgiving holiday if it falls on that same fourth Monday?
Yes, we can do that. If it falls on a holiday, we'll block that meeting out. But do you want us, in the event that happens, I think it would help to have clarity. Do you want us to just cancel the meeting, or move the meeting 1 week forward or 1 week back, which would be the third Mondays on weeks where the weekend or that Monday is a holiday?
I'll entertain this discussion from the board. Anybody want to be recognized?
This is Andrew, Director Pierson. So I think maybe what might be best to just have a discussion, maybe 2 weeks or so, or the previous month, to determine, based off the volume of what we're doing, whether or not we need to move it or cancel it.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah, based off volume, I agree with that too. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I
sir.
just wanted to clarify that we've been doing technically the last Monday of the month. Sometimes Monday falls on the fifth Monday. I just wanted to make that distinction if the board so wishes to entertain it.
Right, and that's he's correct. That should be on the calendar, the last Monday of the month still. So I'll entertain the motion to approve our meeting schedule for 2021 as the last Monday of the month, to confer in the month prior on how we would move forward on those last 2 months, especially based off volume. I'll entertain that motion.
I move that we maintain our meeting schedule as the last meeting of the month, and to add to it a conference when needed to adjust accordingly.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Probably moving second. Any discussion?
Yes, it's Director Ross. I'm looking at the calendar and the last Monday in May is Memorial Day. So we might want to make an adjustment to that.
Okay, if it's the last Monday, I think when it's a holiday, we just don't meet. So if unless you guys wanted to move something forward the Monday before, can we do that now?
Right, but
And
well,
or could-
pursuant to the motion that's on the floor, we would discuss in April whether or not we would cancel it or
Based on value, yeah.
based off volume. So I think that's what the whole motion is about.
Clear,
Because if we
receive.
cancel, because if we cancel it now and then we come April, we have a lot of business before us, then we have to make another motion. You know, I just think that's what the motion speaks to.
Correct, receive. Any further discussion? You okay with that, Director Ross?
Yes. Just-
Okay.
yeah.
All right, Mr. Clerk.
This is a roll call vote. Chairman Baker,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Grooms,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Jiggetts,
Aye.
Director Coleman,
aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Pierson,
Aye.
Director Pollard,
Yes.
Director Ross.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
All right. Mr. Clerk, you can sign the next item.
Next item is item 6D, discussion, companion jurisdiction.
Okay, Madam Attorney, we've had some conversations, I think even prior to this item about actions taken by the city, new organizations, and I think for the edification of the board and the public, can you please give clarification and distinctions of the entities that are formed by the city regarding, I guess pertaining to in general, the DDA, which is the Downtown Development Authority that we've passed legislation to create and activate, and the distinctions between us.
Yes, Chairman, it's okay to speak?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, so just, it's very simple. I know that you may be aware that the city activated its Downtown Development Authority, as Chairman Baker just said. And it's very common for cities to have both development authorities ongoing. So essentially they would have pretty much, with a couple of differences, they would have pretty much the same authority that the Development Authority would have. So you have concurrent jurisdiction. So what that means is that no one has complete jurisdiction, but there is a certain part of the city that you would have concurrent jurisdiction over. And by concurrent, that means that you could do transactions and deals within that corridor of the city, as well as the Downtown Development Authority. And that's the Old National Corridor. And if you look at the document where the Development Authority was created, it's actually, there's a map that outlines what their jurisdiction is. So essentially, their goal is just to focus and fixate on that corridor and to try to develop it and to enhance it development wise. And so they may or may not be doing projects that you may or may work with them on. But they are their own entities similar to yourself. They're separate from the city of South Fulton. They'll have their own attorney, their own interactions. They won't be required to get authority at the council to make moves. If there ever comes a project where, the two authorities want to work with each other, that's also a possibility. And in the legislation that the council adopted, they put that in the legislation, that if there was any opportunity or desire for the two groups to work together, then that was certainly, the city's desire if there is mutual consent there to do that or mutual agreement there to do that.
Also, Mr. Clerk, if you would, just as a courtesy, and it's, just for clarity, it is a public document, it's already been passed and signed by the mayor. If you could disseminate that to the directors so that they can see the map if they haven't pulled it themselves online and, are not familiar with the legislation creating the Downtown Development Authority. So just so they can see the map. I have Director Miller in the queue for comment or question.
Yes, I know they have a representative for the Main Street. Will we have a representative for this organization or this board?
Well, ultimately, we were working with the city manager, and we still are, in getting personnel. That's how that worked. They just wrote in theirs in the legislation. So we have the ability to hire someone, and we're going to be working with the city manager moving forward and come back with eventually a proposal, or we may have an IGA in place in regards to who will function in that position for us.
Okay, and they have given us funding for that? Or do we have, or where does the funding come from?
Well, we discussed publicly. Did we take any action on that at the council meeting, Madam Attorney? Or were we still working with the IGA? I know that we authorized the city manager to come back to mayor and council regarding IGA funding for both of those entities.
Yeah, so right now, as far as use of city personnel, there is no cost associated with that. And our hope was to, with this new position that we're going to be working with the city, to not have a cost there. The council has approved, as of right now, there is no cost, and we're hoping that that will continue for as long as, the council is willing to agree for there not to be a cost. And then if you want additional personnel beyond that, then you could, within your budget, get additional personnel. So that's kind of where we stand now. And while we're speaking on personnel, I just wanted to give you notice that we do have Nina Robinson present. I don't know if you recall Frank Malazzi, who worked previously with the authority as far as, maintaining balances, budget, doing transactions, and assisting us. She is actually on the call tonight. And she is the interim finance director. Mr. Malazzi is no longer with the city, so she will work with us in Mr. Malazzi's capacity as the interim CFO, in his former capacity, just until the council instructs otherwise.
Hello, everyone. This is Nina. Happy to meet everyone. Pleasure
Hi,
to be
Nina. Thank you so much. Our new city manager, I don't think we've met since we've had a new city manager, Miss Tammy Sadler Jones. She advised me that she would ask you and be to be a part of helping us out. We're still in our infancy, and we appreciate you obliging us, Miss Robinson. Thank you so much for being on.
My pleasure. I'm here to help you with developing whatever budget you need to help you move forward.
Thank you much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Madam Attorney, or actually any questions, comments, or concerns from the board? Anybody want to be recognized?
Sure, this
Okay,
is.
Director Coleman.
I have my hand up, Chair.
All right,
Yeah, Director
we'll hear
Pollard was
Director
before
Coleman,
me.
then we go to you, Director Pollard.
Well, sorry about that, Director Pollard. I did see your finger up, so
I'm sorry.
just for my own benefit, and I'm sorry again. First meeting, I want to make sure I'm up to speed and understanding this. So essentially, the Downtown Development Authority is essentially and equal to the South Fulton Development Authority, if I'm understanding it correctly. However, our scope, for lack of a better word, is greater, as they are limited to the old national area, for lack of a better word. So that's the first thing. Is that correct?
And I did not get the last part. You said, like the last sentence that you said.
I'm saying I believe it's the Downtown Development Authority is limited in scope to the old national area, for lack of a better word. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's 100% correct. And whereas you would have the ability to do a development deal anywhere that's within the city of South Fulton.
All right, so two things that then come to mind are what happens when there's a disagreement on direction between the two? And the second thing is, does the Downtown Development Authority in any way, or must they in any way defer to the South Fulton Authority? Meaning deals that of course meet a certain criteria. Obviously the first of which would be if it's the old national area, they can act on their own and so on and so forth. But even within that, are there certain criteria that they must clear deals through South Fulton Development Authority?
Okay, so there's two questions. The first, what happens when there's a disagreement? There should never be a disagreement, because the only time that you would work together is when you do agree. And if you disagree in any capacity and you're not able to resolve that agreement, then you just wouldn't work together. So you don't have to work together. And the only disagreements would be when, you don't share the same vision and you decide, for that reason on this project, we're not going to work with you. We're going to work independently. And then the second question, are there any requirements in place that they come through the development authority, or potentially vice versa when they do their transactions? And there are no requirements. They do not have to work with the development authority. They do not have to work with the city, but it's similar to you. You do not have to work with them if you want to do a deal on the old national corridor, and you do not have to go through the city. So essentially you're three independent bodies.
I just see risk there, right? You've got three bodies and you may have four opinions on direction. We have just thought that Envision South Fulton is hey, it's outstanding, great for branding, everything else. They may choose to do something entirely different that's contra to that. I mean, I would think, or would have hoped, right, that with the creation of the second development authority, then a working relationship would have been better defined, right, to stave off any potential conflicts or problems.
Now, I would like to comment towards that, because as I look at the picture, I think I've gone to a meeting with you, Director Coleman, so we may have already met. And I know that you might have even more information, as you were possibly, if I believe correctly, you could correct me if I'm wrong, a part of the initial DDA. Were you not?
I don't think so, but it is possible.
Okay.
It depends on how long ago that was.
I guess the best thing I can say regarding that is the city, we govern ourselves because we have city leaders who come up with these with the legislation, and they activate us, giving us this authority to move forward on their behalf. I do understand what you're saying, but I look forward to embracing the works of the Downtown Development Authority, and as well as our entity, in order to move forward for the city. Now, if an investor comes forward to them and they have a direction that they want to go in, it's like they can move forward with that investor. If they need us and we disagree, then unfortunately, it would be one of those situations where we don't move forward. And if that investor decides, or the developer decides to still, do what they want to do or move forward with the project or not, the city has entrusted how many of us? The 9 of us, and I believe the 9 of them, to work in concert when it comes to development as much as possible. But they do have sole jurisdiction on those projects that come their way. So it wouldn't be a conflict. It just wouldn't happen if we're not in concert. So I'm hoping that, that those projects that do come together on that corridor and we're needed to work together, that we can decide whatever disputes, and I'm not looking forward to any disputes, but we can resolve and move forward amicably, because the city has, just like, you know, our process, we've reached and pulled from our community the best and the brightest in this area. And we all have good intentions on doing what's best for the city. Anybody else with further discussion or any questions for Madam Attorney?
I have my hand raised.
I'm
My
sorry.
hand is
We
raised
got
too.
Director Pollard. I'm sorry, we got Director Pollard, and then we have Director Pierson, and then Director Jiggetts.
Well, first of all, I have a couple of points. You know, first of all, I have to express my concern, similar to what Director Coleman expressed. You know, a lot of times developers will try arbitrage, and they'll try to play the two different development authorities against each other to try to get the best deal. I've seen that happen before at my previous place of employment. Number two, I had a point of order. I think that the development authority has 3 commercial nodes on which they're going to be concentrating. One would be the Old National Corridor. Another one is the Campbellton Camp Creek corridor, where the new Publix is. And then the third one is the Enon Road, Wolf Creek area. I think they have 3 nodes. So in essence, you know, they have been commissioned, for lack of a better term, to provide support to those 3 commercial nodes. Now, to the extent that we find a transaction on which we want to work that's in those nodes, I just have concerns that, you know, the Downtown Development Authority may feel like we're infringing on their territory. So that's a concern of, and again, my point of order with respect to the 3 commercial nodes. This is something I think I read in a charter, and Attorney Walker probably knows better than I do. But I think they're more than their territory, for lack of a better term, is more than the Old National Corridor. So those are the 2 concerns. One concern, one point of order.
Okay, I don't think there's anything in the charter, but it may be in the legislation that was approved. Madam Attorney.
Yeah, that's correct. So there's no mention of either authority in the charter, but they did they did activate the Downtown Development Authority. For the most part, it's the Old National Corridor, but there are stretches beyond that that they do have jurisdiction over. And when you get the email from the city clerk, there's a map that's attached to the activating resolution, and it shows you the extent of their jurisdiction.
Okay, I may have seen that at one of the council meetings. I know I saw it somewhere though, but thank you for that clarification, Attorney Walker.
Yeah, and then also you can develop a policy where you reach out to them when you work in the Old National Corridor. So when you have your vision and your mission, you know, you can have that be a policy. I just don't want the board to feel like you're being slighted if they don't reciprocate, and that's just because legally they are a separate entity. So I don't want you to feel like if you see them doing a transaction and, you know, they didn't run it by you, that it was anything, you know, that was personal or done, you know, to have any ill will towards the authority. It's just that's the way they work. But you can develop a policy where you communicate with them when you deal with the areas where you have concurrent jurisdiction.
Fair enough. I yield back.
Director Pierson, and then Director Jiggetts.
So thank you, Chairman. So I have, I guess it's for Madam Ms. Walker. If we are looking at a parcel of land in the Downtown Development Authority's jurisdiction, and they're looking at the same land, do we have some kind of cross-pollination communication so that even if it's the same developer, as Director Pollard said, or maybe 2 separate developers that are looking at the same plot of land for something we're looking at? Now, you've already said that we have jurisdiction over all of South Fulton. They have specific areas. How do we rectify if we're looking at the same plot of land for 2 different developers or the same developer?
Well, at some point you're going to find out one of you even if you don't communicate with each other, because if you do move forward and contact the landowner, you know, he is going to tell you, okay, I'm in negotiations with this entity, or he should tell you. If you are
But if he
working on
doesn't,
something,
okay, go ahead.
if you're working on something and it gets completed before, let's just say they're doing something and it didn't come to fruition, and you work out a mutual agreement with that landowner and you complete your transaction, then it just wouldn't include the Downtown Development Authority.
So,
And that's
Okay.
assuming that the landowner didn't communicate to you, or the Downtown Development Authority didn't communicate that we're doing something right here.
Okay, thank you. I yield back.
this is Thant again, and
Director Coleman. Director
Oh, I'm
Coleman.
sorry.
I recognize you right after Director Jiggetts. I'm sorry, Director Jiggetts, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Speaking to, I think, what I understood in regards to what Director Coleman asked as it pertains to jurisdiction and everything that I heard, and I think Director Pollard has spoke to it as well, and I would like clarity. I understood that the legislation that was written by the city, if not, maybe I misunderstood it, but I understood that that the Downtown Development Authority actually had, not only did they create the DDA to service certain areas, but the city also created zones and gave some level of exclusivity to the Downtown Development Authority to operate in those areas. And so I would like clarity on that. That's what I understood. The exclusivity.
Yeah, there's no
part.
exclusivity. There's no director from the council that, you know, the Downtown Development Authority is not to work in this particular corridor.
No, reverse that. Meaning, I thought that that not only did they establish the Downtown Development Authority, but there were also certain zones that gave them the exclusivity rights to do development in those areas. That's not correct.
No, there is nowhere in the city that you're prohibited from doing a development deal.
Okay.
Director Coleman, you have the floor. If you're clear, Director Jiggetts.
Thank you for that, Attorney Walker.
thank you. I'll come back and sum up and say the same thing. Essentially, right, we've called out and identified risks relative to risk questions and concerns relative to jurisdiction, relative to how we would, could, or should work together, and so on and so forth. So again, even from the legal standpoint and from my standpoint of risk exists. It clearly exists. So the only way to mitigate that is perhaps we could go back to the council and ask that they define some sort of governance document, some sort of document that does govern how the existing development authorities work together, who would have jurisdiction in this scenario, that scenario. We can identify those risks, ask that they be defined. We don't know that they may not create another 2 or 3 development authorities at the same time. So again, my thinking is we need some sort of document, and if that should come from the city council, why would we not ask for that ahead of time?
Okay, so the city council activates you, but your rules of operation are set by state law. So there's a statute that's called the Development Authorities Law. And there's also a state statute that sets the parameters of operation for the Development Authority. So
what's the mayor's role there? If the mayor executed the document that created the Downtown Development Authority, then my question then is what authority does the mayor and city council have in creating some sort of working relationship document or governance document?
So anything that you would do with the city would be by IGA. It would be an intergovernmental agreement where you would agree to X and the city would agree to X. Now, as far as the mayor and council, what they did is that a development authority exists in every city. And you existed as a fictional entity before the mayor and council voted. What the mayor and council did is they activated you to have legal right to utilize and act as a body and utilize the components of the state statute that regulates your conduct.
So
So
then
that's
what I
basically
should,
what the resolution did. They activated you to adhere to the state of Georgia protocols as far as your operations. If you want to, because here's the thing, the mayor and council, the development authority is a separate entity. So you can't go to the city and say, can we do this with the development authority? You have to go directly to not the development authority, I mean the downtown development authority. So you would have to go directly to them because they have to be agreeable to any situation or arrangement that you set up because they're their own legal body.
so then I'll pose a question which may not get to the heart of the matter, or as a matter of fact, no, forget that, right? How about this? We've identified the risk clearly, and a number of folks have called out examples of that risk. How do we mitigate that risk? We don't want to wait until we have an issue. We'd like to be proactive. So how should we best, Attorney Walker, mitigate that risk?
Well, you develop a policy. If your concern is we don't want to do anything in a certain area, if your concern is you don't want to do anything in a certain area, because there might be a transaction that another agency is doing, then you just implement a policy saying that if we do anything that's on the map, we're going to give them notice. We're going to have someone who would be the administrator position, and that's the position that we're setting up with the city manager, most likely, unless you give it directed to someone else. But they would just reach out and say, this is something the development authority is doing.
Right.
You can do that as a courtesy.
I understand your example, but I think that I mean, there's much more than that exists. Again, if we sit down, then perhaps we as a board can sit down, identify the risks, right? Identify the concerns. Here are the things that we think may happen, may cause some issues. We then maybe draft what we think some sort of response or plan could be. Perhaps we simply take the risks to the other development authorities and say, look, we all, this could happen to any of us. Let's sit down and come up with a plan. Perhaps that's the best way to proceed. But again, I would hate to think that we've just identified risks relative to working with the other development authorities. We then sit and do nothing.
Well, here's the thing about the risk. I don't think they're going to be that common. And that's because you don't typically have conflicts between development authorities and downtown development authorities. I mean, we represent multiple cities right now. We've represented cities and, counties for at least me personally, the last decade and a half nearly. And I have never seen a conflict between a development authority and a downtown development authority. I think that trying to come up with a list of what potential conflicts would be, because it is so unlikely and it is also speculative, may not be as helpful as giving notice of transactions that you do in that area if you want. And then whatever conflict comes up, if anything comes to fruition, then you assessing the risk specific to what conflict comes up. And then that way you'll have full information in addressing that risk for speculating what a risk could be and then trying to speculate how you would respond to it.
I love your answer. I love it. So I'll paraphrase in my country boy way and say this, right? So yes, we may have identified risks. However, the probability of occurrence is very low, right? It is unlikely. And with that, I will yield to the board. Right? If the board feels, yes, these things could occur, but we'll accept the risk, deal with them when they happen, then so be it. If not, then obviously we move to come up with some mitigation strategy. Is that fair?
Well, if you're making a motion, I'll entertain your motion. But before you move forward, I would just advise everyone to take a step back and probably watch the council meetings during the activation of the board and there's a lot of back knowledge to the inception of this board. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to be divisive or appear to be divisive when the city has activated both of us as entities. If our attorney is saying this is something that doesn't happen, we know that the risk is just that the developer wouldn't move forward with us and would move forward with them, or they would move forward with us. I mean, vice versa. So I'm willing to entertain however the city however this body wants to move forward. But I also like to lean and rely on subject matter experts when it comes to this area, especially giving caution to the institutional knowledge of the inception of both of these boards. But you have the floor, Director Coleman.
He yielded back.
I
May I
believe
speak?
Director Pierson was about to speak. I've said my piece. Again, if we as a group believe it's not worth undertaking, then I won't continue to argue.
So what I was, thank you, Director Coleman. What I was going to say was predicated off of what Madam Attorney said. I think the risk based off her, I think she said decade and a half, or what I would assume would be somewhere close to 15 years. If it rarely, if ever happens, I think tackling it at that time would make better sense than for us to create a motion and then try to list a bunch of things that may happen. So I'd lean towards Madam Attorney's directive.
Okay, is there anything else, anybody else that I'm missing?
I do have one question. Who carries the overarching vision for development in South Fulton? Because I understand we have all these boards working in different areas, but what is the overarching vision for the board?
I would want to take a stab at addressing that, but I also would want to defer to the attorney. I think that board is the city council. The vision for the city of South Fulton, it lies at the feet of the 8 elected officials. And I think that we are a result, both our entity as well as the new DDA is, we're both entities that were activated by them to bring about the economic development as well as building of this city. They've given us those responsibilities to a certain extent. And I think, as the attorney stated, the legislation governing all development authority boards, whether it be the city of South Fulton's Development Authority, Fulton County Development Authority, or the city of South Fulton's Downtown Development Authority, there's already legislation written that we're supposed to govern ourselves under. Madam Attorney, I defer to you.
Yes, that's correct. I would think of yourself as maybe a general practitioner, and the Downtown Development Authority as a heart specialist. And you're both running independent practices, and you're being paid, or not being paid, but you're being activated by this bigger body that says, you know what, open your practice and specialize and focus and fix those areas.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, the vision comes from the mayor and council, and then those boards are directed.
Not necessarily fix those areas, but just work with the development authorities to determine, okay, what exactly is our vision and our mission, and what do we want to accomplish short term,
right,
term, and long term.
Director Miller?
I yield.
Okay, and I wanted to provide a little bit more clarity too. And now I'm speaking as a part of the council. We don't have that ability to dictate what your vision is. And when I say your, I mean this board or the DDA, meaning that's why they're citizen-driven boards. We relied on putting these people together as subject matter experts in their own rights to build the city. And that's where it ends. But when it comes to the first part of your question, the city council is that entity. But when it comes to these just like she said, when it comes to the heart specialists and those individuals who come together to work as a body for South Fulton, it's our discretion, and we're the governing bodies that make those decisions. And I'm hoping that that legislation is strong enough, meaning the legislation that governs all bodies that are considered development authorities, whether DDA or DAs, to handle the legislation if it comes up, or those issues as they may arise. I think we should get all of these questions answered. If there's anybody else who desires more clarity, please speak up now and let us try to address them, as well as Mr. Clerk. Please make sure, if you can, to send that legislation with the maps as well to all the directors.
Yes, sir. It actually should be in everyone's mailbox now.
Am I missing anybody? Okay, Mr. Clerk, you call the next item.
Yeah, next item is item 7, executive session.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion if there's a desire for executive session.
I'll make a motion that we go into executive session for personnel, litigation, and or real estate.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, probably moved to second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call vote. Chairman Baker,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Grooms,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Jiggetts,
Aye.
Director Coleman,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Pierson,
Aye.
Director Pollard,
Aye.
Director Ross.
Aye.
Receive. Please join the breakout rooms. Director Coleman, you should see a button that just says join. Just press it and we'll come back in there. Mr. Clerk?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. We're all back now.
Okay, we're back in the public meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to reconvene.
Move that we reconvene.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Probably moving a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Roll call vote to reconvene. Chairman Baker,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Grooms,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Jiggetts,
Aye.
Director Coleman,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Pierson,
Aye.
Director Pollard,
Aye.
Director Ross.
Aye.
We're reconvened at 7:25 p.m.
Received. Madam Clerk, can you please advise if there's any action we need to take based off our executive session conversations? Public.
You said Madam Clerk. I'm just trying to clarify.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
Madam Attorney. Listen,
Yeah, and you said clerk, so I didn't. Can you repeat? I'm sorry, I was laughing.
There's the mix. I apologize to both of you. Are there any actions, Madam Attorney, that we're taking in executive session that we should bring forward?
Yeah, there are no public actions resulting from executive session that I'm aware of
Received.
or needed from executive session.
Copy received. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk, can you please take a roll call consensus?
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Chairman Baker,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Grooms,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Jiggetts,
Aye.
Director Coleman,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Pierson,
Aye.
Director Pollard,
Yes.
Director Ross.
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned at 7:27 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you, public, for sticking in with us. We appreciate it. You guys be safe. Okay, your families.
Thank you. Great meeting.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Have a good evening.
All right.